Okay, I'm back once again. We practiced our sword turning, and now we are going to get into giving the Twerhaw from other positions. So we've started out in Ochs on one side, cutting through to the other. Great. I don't always want to be an Ochs. Sometimes I sometimes cutting from there would be from a different position would be a good idea. So let's talk about some other positions. We can talk about Vom Tag. And so how do I cut from here? Well, part of it is I have to turn the sword because I can't just give my Twerhaw like this. Again, I can if I want to slap my opponent with my sword, but however, for the sake of what we do, and for the sake of our sport, we want to cut with the edge. We want to use the edge so that we can cut. So what happens here? Well, we get here, and now what point? Now where is this position? Where does this position exist in space? Well, if we backtrack to Ochs over here, and we go to give our cut, and stop halfway through, then where are we? We are in... Alright, if we just change this angle, then we are in Vom Tag. So, what does this tell us about Vom Tag? That it's kind of halfway through that gross, that large sweep, and therefore, it's not a bad starting point. In fact, as we're going to see, it ends up being the starting point from several other positions. So, over here, in Vom Tag, I still have my left foot is still forward. And of course you can't see up there. Wow. My left foot is still forward. Sword turns, and I end up right about here. Which, incidentally, is exactly where I end up it's exactly where I end up shortly before taking the first step out, which is then followed up with the step behind. So if we break this down once again, sword turns, extend fully, my arms are still in line with my center, and then there's the step out, and then there's the step through. What this all ends up looking like together is this. It is still a relatively quick motion. Partially because I'm only going, my tip is only traveling half the distance that it does when going from here. And rather I'm over here, right? And so that's blah 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 blah. That is making this cut happen from Vom Tag. Now I can bring this down to the shoulder. Same rules still apply. I still have to get out here. So there's a turn of the hand. There's a turn of the sword. Sword comes out like so. Once again, in line with center. It can be a little bit retracted. I can do this a bit closer. I can be a little more extended. But in either case, getting out here is the first order of business. Once I'm out here, again I feel the string, I feel the pull, and I follow it with the first step out and the second step behind. All together, I'm only getting half the range of motion out of it, it is still a strong cut. Step 1, step 2, step 3. All together. Yeah, you still do get quite a bit out of that cut. So there's Vom Tag. And then of course if I end up on the other side, which never fence from, but that's very much a me thing. Again, I can give that same cut on the other side. Because it is a long edge cut when I'm cutting on the left side, I don't have to turn the sword. Turning the sword here would actually be kind of strange and would actually result in striking with the flat. But in either case, similar ideas apply. I'm halfway through the big arc. I get over here, I get extended, I'm still centered, take a step out here, follow through with the other side. Alright, same deal like so. Extend, step out, follow through. All together. Alright, so that's Vom Tag. What are some other positions? We have Alber. And you know what, let me show Vom Tag with a single-handed weapon, and all of the stuff that I'm doing with the Messer, you can still do with the longsword. It's harder to do because it is of course a longer weapon. But all of this stuff can absolutely be done with the longsword, one-handed. Right, if I'm up here, remember there's the turn, there's the extension, and step through. It is of course quicker and easier to do this with the Messer because the Messer is about a foot shorter. Right, this could be from the shoulder, be from the other shoulder, could be from above. Vom Tag, one-handed, two-handed, that's what we have for that. Now, we get down to Alber. I think of Alber as just being any position in which hands are low and the point is not trained directly on your opponent's face or chest, which makes it different from Fluke, in which hands are low and the point is on line with the target. Here, hands are low, point is away. So, anything I consider anything with this range to be some flavor of Alber. And in many ways, all of the many of the same mechanics still apply to any one of these positions. So let's start with our classic swords right out in front of you. Left leg is forward, and I want to give it Twerhaw from here. For whatever reason, we'll get more into the tactical implications of this in a different video. For now, I'm just going to make that cut up there happen from down here. So once to see it in action, Other side. So what happened here? A couple things happened. We saw before that I have to get to Vom Tag one way or another. Hands have to get high up, and the point has to end up away from your opponent, which just so happens to be the way I characterize Vom Tag. Why does the point have to be away from the opponent? Because at the point where we're directly at the opponent, then you wouldn't be cutting. Right, if my point's already over here, and I want to keep that point there while getting around to the other side, I would wind. Cutting gives me the same end position without, while also allowing some action with the edge. So what happened here from Alba? Hands went high and extended. Now this is not to say that there was a checkpoint in the middle where the hands had to go high in order to extend. What you are doing is blurring the lines between those two. The hands have to get high, point has to be away. In this case, right about here is the halfway point. Hands are still high, point is still away. I would be comfortable calling this a version of Vom Tag. Get up there so that you can then extend. Once you've extended, that first step can happen, and then the follow-through can happen. I get over here into this more shrunk hook kind of position. Here, even better, arms across. I'm actually starting with more range of motion, and I can build up more power this way. Because if I raise my arms, where am I? I'm in the starting position that we were in just the other day. Similarly, on the other side, if I'm in Shrunk Hood or Eisenfort, Iron Gate over here, it might be there's several steps involved in getting that strike to happen over here on the right side, because my hands have to cross in order for them to uncross. The cut doesn't work if I'm starting with my hands uncrossed and then trying to keep them uncrossed and also cut. I guess you could, but it's dicey and it doesn't feel good and it doesn't flow well. The point of all this is that if you're going to give a cut that is up high, your hands need to get high up first, and the point needs to, at some point away from your opponent. Whether that means that this is that point, or that this is that point, somewhere in this range is a point that your sword needs to pass through. And understand that most of the time, when I say Vom Tag, I'm referring to a position, once again, in which the hands are high and the point is not towards my opponent. Hands high towards opponent, hands high away from opponent. Now it is feasible to, once again, it is feasible to do this from Flug. I probably wouldn't do it because Flug is really good at other things and cutting is not really one of that guard's strengths. Just because, once again, you have to get here in order to get here. The further I stray from this or this being my starting point, the longer that motion is. So we need to take that into consideration. However, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show where those mechanics are and how they work, so that you can simplify these motions for yourself. This isn't a unique movement that's unto itself. We need to memorize every last little aspect of it. It's a variation on other movements that also get you to this point. In Messer, it's really common to start here in Schrankut. I don't remember if they give a different name to Schrankut. It's really common to start here and then parry up into Pogen. Pogen is a little different from Ochs or Stier, as they would call it, where the hand gets high, and I'm coming from here to guarding up here, but then from there, I cut around. So we actually see quite a bit of this, whether it's coming up into Lugensland before cutting around, or coming up like so. But we do see a lot of this kind of starting low, getting our hands high, often as a defensive action, and then following up with the Twerhaw, or the Twerhaw, the anger strike. So okay, yes. So to wrap things up, hands get high, point goes away, and that is the one piece of consideration that you need to make when you're in any given position. Oh, I didn't even talk about long point. You can do, of course, all of these things from Lango. This is Sprechfenster. We're taught that all of your fencing can happen from here, and this is no less true for the Twerhaw. It's tricky because you don't have you don't have that much range of motion to work with. But indeed, from here, again, hands get high, point goes away. So, keep this stuff in mind, practice it, and in the next video we're going to look at variations on this other than this the high horizontal variant of Twerhaw. We're going to look at Twerhaw Ochs and Twerhaw Flug.